Welcome back to Just in Our Minds. We got another special guest here today. This man gave me new understanding of what networking can be. He's a business owner. He's an investor. From what I hear and what I see, he's a great human being, a great dad. And I think he used to build cabinets at one point.
I did, yeah. I did cabinets, and I wore a lot of hats. I would sell the cabinets, and then I would build the cabinets and install the cabinets.
Yeah, I was good. I was going to ask about that. So this is Shawn Finnegan. But yeah, we'll start there. I mean, so how many jobs do you think you've done over your lifetime? Because
lots.
You've seen your dad as he was the manager for a library, correct?
Yeah, that's right. He was a bookstore manager.
Bookstore
manager for 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to go to my dad and say, hey, can you give me an allowance? Right? So I had to go. It was actually very valuable. And I mean, it was painful going through that because I was like, how'd my friend's dad gave him $5. I mean, I was like, every month, I was like, how is that possible? Your dad gave you money? You know what I mean? How does that work? And that wasn't an option for me. So I had to go figure it out. And so I did everything. I started selling on my playground, candy. I went door to door selling pencils. I did everything you can possibly get to. It was like side hustle. I had like 100 side hustles.
That's awesome. I love that. You know what book I just finished? The audio book is the Nipsey Hussle. Have you listened to that one?
No, I need to.
No, it's powerful, and that's what he talks about is the candy.
Yeah.
Like you go to the dollar store, you buy 3 candy bars, and you sell each one for $3 because there's nothing at school.
Yeah, my friend's son, I just talked to him last week, and he's doing that now, and he's making like the numbers have gone up. He makes $50 a day at school selling candy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's like $500 for
I know.
an adult.
Yeah, the numbers have changed, but I think it's still valuable, and it's hard to say no to some 14-year-old that's wearing bad jeans, and a bad shirt standing on your porch trying to sell you pencils. And I got tons of yeses, and it got to the point I was selling pizza, everything I could do, and that's how I made money.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's where my dad would either have me change his brakes or do different things at the house. But even then, because I would skateboard and stuff, so they couldn't buy me nice shoes because I'd thrash them.
Well, and skateboards aren't cheap either.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get used ones, and every once in a while I'd get a brand new one, like hopefully for Christmas. So my list was I get one good thing.
Yeah.
I would get good presents, but like you have that one thing that's over $100.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I go create money. I tell people who have young people, just go start selling stuff. It's such a great life skill. There's no AI involved. There's no phone involved. You're basically standing there and you have to present to someone and sell.
Yeah, back in the paper days too.
Yes, I did all that.
Yeah, that's where, luckily for me, I think I started about 14, but I seen a lot of it wasn't sales. It was just like, oh, how can I get my body to be strong enough to be a workhorse? So for me, it was like hands-on, picking up logs. Like my friend's dads owned companies, like small companies. So as I turned 14, 15, I was I worked as I guess it would be the shop boy for a car shop. My dad's where he worked. And so mine was the opposite of the sales at first, and then I didn't start picking up sales until I moved out here to Utah when I was 22.
Yeah. Right.
But it's interesting to see where you start. All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a different type of work ethic.
Yeah.
And then I have like that caveman brute work ethic, and then you have to sit down.
Yeah.
That was an interesting transition between hands-on in-person coaching and online coaching. I was like, oh, this is a completely different beast.
Yeah, sure.
So you have to
face-to-face with someone versus
your attention span's different.
Sure. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've just been working from the get-go. Did you just early on? Did you have was the goal to have make the money, or was it like the thrill of the sale? Like, what would you think is the?
Yeah. So pretty early on, I had this dad who was like the most even keel, Christ-like person I know. Like this guy was the most faithful, amazing human being, and he was bringing in a salary of a bookstore manager. And then I have this mom who's also amazing, and I had 2 different examples. She was the side hustle mom, starting multiple businesses, preschools, everything you can think of. And so I had 2 different examples. It's like the rich dad, poor dad example, where I had do I want to have where I know down to the penny how much I'm going to make every week? Or do I want to risk it and go step out in the void and chew glass and go through that and be more like my mom and start businesses? And I chose very much, I wanted to be an empire builder. That's what I wanted more than anything. So part of the sales, everything was leading up to me having this side, my own thing. And I was like, I have my own business. What is it? Oh, I sell candy, whatever it is.
because I feel like, in me included, because growing up as like that fighter-esque thing,
Yeah.
like it's easy to have your ego in the way and you can't see the bigger picture.
Sure.
And I think for some people, like they can't do the bottom rung thing to get to the higher, to get
Sure.
to, because you had a purpose.
100%.
You were already purpose. You're like, okay, I have to do this to build this to this to
Yeah.
this. Maybe you didn't know the next step yet, but you knew that you were stepping, right?
Yeah, the key is and I work with, like, I go to iHub, which is an incubator for entrepreneurs, so these young entrepreneurs. And I do some mentoring there, and I talk to these young people that are like putting together a plan, and they're incredible. They're super talented, they're super gifted, they're intelligent, much more intelligent than I've seen anyone. And when I'm talking to them, I'm like, well, how much have you created in sales? And they're like, well, I'm waiting for this, that, and this, and before I can go sell customers. And I always like, it's the start that stops these young people. It stops us all. And it's like, if we could just get the start, if you could just pull out your calendar and set a time, set a date that you're going to actually go launch and you're going to try to create your first customer, then actually that's where action happens.
Right. Even beta testing, right?
Yes.
Hand it out to somebody.
Don't wait, take action and go do something, right? And that leads to more action and a better process and a better system after.
And it translates to so many things, whether it's like fitness or like, there's no better day than today, right?
Yeah.
Because you're failing forward.
Right.
And that's because with fitness and martial arts, there's always the joke with MMA or jiu-jitsu for black belt coaches and things like that. It's always oh, you're going to start Monday, like see you on Monday.
Yes, Monday.
When Monday comes
Monday
around,
never comes. Yeah.
Monday never comes.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
And you were telling me this, so going to iHub, or you weren't telling me, you were telling me through the podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
I was listening to.
Yeah.
You were mentioning that these are the things that keep you fired up, like
That's
going
right.
to iHub
Oh,
and different
yeah.
things like that. And I'm on top of, like, you have a plethora of people that need a paycheck from you.
Yes, for sure.
Your
That.
team.
But yeah, you're spending time with these young people that are like literally given plasma to keep things going. It brings you back to your roots of what you've been through. And that's the fire in your gut that you can never lose. You don't ever want to lose momentum.
Yeah, and you were telling me it's funny to get back and hear these, or tell me again. You're mentioning that you, like, these kids are making what, $500 to $1,500, and that's them banking it.
Yes.
They're like, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, 'cause it's so easy. Because there's always that. Because for you, like, I see you, like, when I first met you, apparently you're going to be. We see eye to eye because that's the way you see it. I'm sure, but. Like, it's easy to put people on a pedestal.
Sure.
You're like, how
100%.
do I get to that? And the more I learn who you were to get to where you are, it's like so easy to be like, oh, he's probably naturally gifted at that or whatever. It's like, or the must be nice culture.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, must be nice to be Shawn Finnegan.
Right,
it's
right,
like you
right.
don't realize that you built the house starting with toothpicks.
Yeah.
Trying to glue them together. And
I love this. So there's a cartoon of these people standing down at the bottom of this mountain, and there's this business guy with a suit standing on top. And all the people at the bottom are saying, "Oh, he's so lucky. He's on the top of the world, and it's amazing." And then the cartoon shows behind, and there was barbed wire, there was glass, and there's blood, sweat, and tears all the way to the top of that mountain, right? And it's the perspective we don't see. I thought I did the same thing. I put all these people on pedestals, and then when I actually got to know them, I was like, "Wait a minute, you've been through that? You've been through this struggle. You've had failures here. All of them have. They paid the price to get to where they are."
Like when you first had that conversation with the gentleman from Shark Tank, you asked him about him.
Yeah.
And like, what are your steps here? It wasn't
That's right.
like presenting what you, and it's, for one, it is tactical, it's intelligent, but it's also, like you said, you're cultivating relationships. And I feel like, you have to be able to, like, develop the skill set, but you don't start there, right?
No.
It's trial and error across the board. But you can hire mentors and people to maybe get you a couple steps ahead.
Sure.
So you're not just like, you're not was Finding Nemoing it, where you just have the one fin.
It's like if you want to go do jujitsu. Like I believe the greatest way to learn in history is to go find someone like yourself that's an expert at jujitsu, and then how fast you pay for speed.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I actually want to become pretty proficient in jiu-jitsu in this period of time.
Yeah. Well,
you're going to get there because you have a mentor. Someone is actually going to show you the technique.
And that's the fun thing, because then you have me, which I wouldn't call myself an expert at jiu-jitsu. But for somebody that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, I'm way further ahead.
Yeah.
And And so for skilled hand-to-hand combat, I teach you a lot of things. But then it's fun because then you have the levels. You have you have the shark, and people from shark. You have all these different levels, and then there's always the person that we consider probably on a pedestal, like Elon Musk or whoever.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, because if you're in a room sitting here in the back of your head, it's always just like, dang.
Yeah.
How am I sitting next to this person?
Yeah, Elon's in it. I love his story of his biography is one of my favorite books that you should read. It's incredible. But 2008, he did multiple exits in his career, and most people that exit just keep their money and they keep it in the bank, and then they raise money from everyone else. He put all of his money out there, and he put all his money at risk. 2008, he has 2 businesses that are on the verge of death. He's down to like $30 million.
Sleeping on couches and
that's how he started, sleeping on couches. But he has SpaceX and he has Tesla that are on the verge of bankruptcy. Both of them, both are going to die, and all his money gone. He's out. He has to choose between his last 30 million to where does he put it, and he can't choose, so he splits it in 15 and 15 and gives it to each one, and they're probably both going to die. And then you got to read the book because both of them turn around. And then now he's like obviously the wealthiest person on the planet.
Oh,
Earth.
yeah.
But in that moment, he had a divorce that year, and he also had a nervous breakdown sitting in a mental hospital.
I bet I wouldn't, like he says, like on Joe Rogan, he's like, you wouldn't want my brain. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
right,
it's like,
dude.
you
It's
wouldn't want
true.
to be in here.
It's true.
It's because I can only imagine, because I've seen, I think some of the highest level of people are usually like bipolar. They just, you could see their manic depressants, like they have this high caliber of,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of them, they talk to themselves a lot because they have to get the words out.
Yeah.
You know? And then thinking about that, man, you have your own Elon Musk story.
Yeah,
Like, right?
for sure.
You have,
Yeah.
maybe we could get into
Yeah,
that,
sure.
like how you,
Yeah.
like the transcending of you going from selling all these small areas, the cabinets.
That's right. Cabinets did that. Yeah. So I was always like into the business stuff. I went to work for someone, and then ultimately there was a shift in the business. So I was out, like I was jobless, and I had a choice. Do I go back to work, or do I actually start my own business? I decided this is my moment. This is in 2009. It started. That's the time I chose to go in business. And 2009 was horrible. It was a bad year. There was lots of foreclosures. People were in bad shape, and I decided that's the year I'm going to start my business. And it was I wish someone would have stopped me from starting my business that year, but I had all this optimism. I was excited because I've been waiting for this moment my whole life to actually launch a really significant business. So I come up with the idea of I love thought leaders, I love education, I love learning, and so I want to go put great people on stages and sell tickets and sell education, everything else. So that was my business. I decided the first time ever I have to go raise money. I don't have a family that came from money. I had very little in the bank. So I got to go raise money. So I raised money. It was like 23 investors gave me $1.5 million over about a 6-month period. And just a lot of crashes and burns, a lot of like trying to figure it out. But I actually got $1.5 million in my operating account. That was a happy day. I was celebrating. That was the day my family was proud of me. My neighbors thought I was a baller, and I finally arrived. Right?
And you changed your changed to CEO on LinkedIn, right?
LinkedIn. I went on, put as a CEO officially, dude. I was stoked, man. Yeah. Things were great. That was like a happy moment.
Yeah.
And as you know, Tax Hive is partnered with Kevin O'Leary, and one of his quotes is, "In business, poo-poo happens." And for me, poo-poo happened over the next 12 months, where I did multiple tests. My first event was David Bach, the Automatic Millionaire. I paid him like $75,000. He was going to come in and speak for 30 minutes. I sent a ton of direct mail. I spent hundreds of thousands just on the event. And I sent tons of direct mail to go and deliver at people's homes to come to an event. Well, a hurricane hits. My mail can't be delivered. I spent tens of thousands for this ballroom at some big hotel. And imagine you're the promoter and everyone has confidence in you. And David Bach has confidence in me because he said, "Hey, I will do it." Although he's getting paid a lot of money, he was like, "I also want to look good on stage. I don't want to be memed in front of like no one showing up." So, but I'm confident this guy can do it. So imagine 500 chairs in the room, and there's 30 people in the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a limousine pull up, and there's David Bach, and he jumps out of the car, and he's ready to go speak to my audience, and there's 30 people in the room. It's the most embarrassing I just wanted to like dig a hole and jump in and hide for a while.
Get
And
taken away from the
had
storm.
to face it
Yeah.
and explain what happened. And then our mail hit 2 weeks after the event, and total disaster. That was hundreds of thousands of dollars burned up in one event. Multiple of those. I could spend a day just talking about all the failures. And for me, the rock bottom was Thursday night, because I was down to $2,500 in the bank, down from 1.5. But it was worse than that because my house was leveraged to my car. That was it. I was at literally the end of my rope, and I hadn't paid myself in months and months and months. So I'd been living on cards, my own credit cards, for months. And I was $2,500 in the bank. So then I had this pounds per square inch pressure, right? You talk about like the worst arm bar, the worst chokehold ever, because I had all these investors that gave me money. That's hard-earned money that they earned, and they had faith in me and confidence in me. And then my friends and family. What about that embarrassment? And then what about a group of people at the office that had faith and confidence in me? What about them? So Thursday night, I couldn't make payroll on Friday. I didn't sleep all night long. I'm literally praying for a miracle on Friday morning that something's going to happen. Like I'll get a miracle deposit from the bank and nothing happens. And so I realize that I can't. And I go to lunch and I'm like, have I overturned every rock? And I realize there's nothing. And so I'm going to go stand up and I'm going to go, payroll is about $3,500. So I'm $1,000 in the world. I didn't have $1,000. So I'm back to the office. I was heading back to the office. I get a phone call from my controller. She's like, hey, Shawn, I found $3,000 in petty cash. What do you want me to do with it? And I was like, well, I want you to deposit, hang on to it. And so I screeched my tires, went and picked up the cash. I went back to the bank and deposited it. Instant cash. Cash is king. It's cleared. I cut physical checks, and that's how close I made payroll. And it was a painful, horrible, literally that year was horrible. The whole year. It wasn't just that moment. It was the culmination of the whole year of failure after failure after failure. So that afternoon, I just sat in my office and I was like, all right. I became an expert that afternoon on failures. It's like, I'm an expert failure, right? And I started rank ordering. I started putting all my failures on the board, marketing, operations, sales, all that stuff. And then my number one, I started rank ordering. My number one was I stopped building relationships out of ego and pride for probably the last 12 months. And there was probably God probably put people in my path many, many, many times. And I didn't engage with them. Like I had this buddy that was like, hey, I have a good, he was my guy, me now. He was like, I have this great group of investors and business people. You should come to my thing. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm putting out crocodiles. And I realized I just stopped doing that. And I said, well, I'm going to get very comfortable being uncomfortable, and I'm going to go after this thing. I'm going to become the best networker, the best relationship builder in my market. I'm doing it now.
All right, you ask for strength, you get heavier weights. You either crumble or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's way harder to get strong than it is to fall to weakness.
There was the temptation.
Yeah.
Temptation to say, hey, just hang it up. I gave it my best effort, and for whatever reason, it's like, I think persistence is the greatest principle.
100%.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's so pivotal too, because you even, like you're saying, you even remember like the color of the check. It was brown, right?
100%.
Brown checks.
Remembering everything. It was locked in. Like as I tell the story, I go back to that emotion.
Yeah.
It's back there with me. It's it's raw. But so I built relationships from there, and I brought on a couple of incredible partners. And over the next 12 months, we actually turned the business around, fortunately, and we were able to pay back the 1.5 plus. I mean, it was like maybe 2.1 million by the time I paid back interest. So I paid 2.1 or there in the ballpark of that to all the investors, and I took the business back. But I made more money in that period of time, and it was only because I actually had great relationships. The partners I brought on were really good. They're like, oh, we're going to bring this relationship, and we could reach out to that company, and they're going to partner with us on that. And I saw this like empire build, and it was because of that.
Yeah, it was like, and some of these people that you called in, it was like you talked to them on Friday, and they're like, oh, a couple weeks out, huh? And you're like, no, like Monday. Like, I need you here Monday
Sushi
morning.
Monday.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Sushi Monday.
Yeah.
I remember the very first meeting was this guy's brilliant. I mean, he's brilliant. We went to Sushi, and they have the paper tablecloth. And I was like, do you mind if I take notes? And I was taking notes on that. And then by the time I was done, I was like, I've realized all the pitfalls and everything I'd been doing wrong on marketing. And I was like, do you mind if I take that tablecloth with me? So I took it back and I hung it up and I started executing on everything. And ultimately he became my partner but it totally changed the course of my life. So that's why people are like, why do you network? Well, it's because I've actually lived it and I've seen the power it can do. I have an X room, as you know, you come to, and every time I do, I'm like, there's an X and there's a intersection of two entrepreneurs, and that intersection creates a multiple, right? That's where the X comes from, is because if you get two decision makers that are great entrepreneurs in the room and they end up doing business, guess what? All boats rise, revenue goes up, relationships are built, and that's how you scale.
And it's like you said too, like other than the motivation and the fire, you even have these young kids like that are maybe could even say just one thing and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
bam. Like it's just
Oh,
so
yeah.
wild how many places you can get. And especially if you're leading with pure intention and love for the game and for helping
Yes.
or whatever like avenue you want to put that in. But
Yeah.
because that was something when Kyle Deaver is the one that
Yes.
introduced us,
That's
and
right.
that was something with him too. But it was something he told me too, is like, Justin, you're one of the nicest people I know, but there's a difference between being nice and a good guy.
Yeah.
So then I'm sure you had to overcome some of that
Oh,
along
yeah.
the way, and
Yeah.
then
Finding the right people around you, for sure.
developing and
Yeah.
attracting, becoming the person that you need
That's
to
right.
become to
Yeah.
attract it. Like you said,
Yes.
this metaphysical
So
energy
important.
too.
Yes.
Because if you notice, if somebody always they date the wrong people or they date these things, and
Yeah.
they don't realize it's like a self-awareness thing.
Yeah, I do multiple events, and someone told me recently, like, how do you attract the very best, like-minded, like heart-centered people? And it dawned on me. I was like, if you put that out, which I know you're a big believer in, and that's how you live, then you're going to attract that and back in return. It is. I'm a huge believer in The Secret, the law of attraction. I am all in on that stuff, woo-woo stuff, because I've actually experienced it too. I mean, the people I have around me are incredible human beings.
And you have to do work to manifest properly.
Yeah.
You can't just sit at home and flip your tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
You
That's
have to.
right.
You have to. That's something. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times where it just lands in your lap.
Sure.
But if you're not doing something, then you can't expect. Like if your sale's not open, you can't expect the wind to push you to your destination.
That's right. You got to create. Yeah.
So you got to have a boat, and if you don't have, you got to create the boat, right?
Yes. 100%.
So I would say, what are some of the most okay, so you became a master of failure. What were some
Yes.
of the most pivotal that you just come off the top of your head, I'm sure there's plenty.
Yep.
That helped develop some of the most character fundamentals for you, maybe top 3 that you could say. Because I think you mentioned one, it was like being able to pull your ego out of the way and develop the skills necessary. But what are
Yep.
some of the ones
For your personal work,
whatever you want, personal, environmental,
Yeah.
relationships? Maybe there's something that you weren't
Yeah.
doing as like from a networking standpoint
Yes.
too.
Yes. So I have a top 3 in relationship building. It's the power of 3. It's the golden 3 that I developed because I didn't know what I was doing in networking, and I figured out some things that were great and some things that weren't over that period of time. And I feel like there's 3 areas, and they're not breakthrough areas. Everyone knows these, but most people don't do them well. And the first one is doing live events. You go to those. You're going. I mean, you guys are coming next week to a live event. You show up. That's the success principle. Number 1 is show up, which is easier said than done. Right? It's like because you have 1,000 things you're supposed to do, and all of a sudden you're there. You're busy doing a lot of things. You're going to be on a set soon, and everything else.
Well,
I mean, killer stuff.
Even what time is it right
Yes.
now? Thursday. This is when we
Yes.
filmed. So I told him, I was like, hey, how about we skip the podcast next week? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then all of us go there.
I'll love it.
You know,
I'm
And
so glad you're coming.
That's why that time is already
Yes.
opened.
Make it
This
happen.
is opportunities you have to walk through the door. Like you're saying,
Yes.
the portals.
Yes. Yeah. You walk through that portal. So it's how you show up. A lot of people, it's like I talk to many people. They're like the last thing I'd want to do is go into a room. It sounds like torture going into a room where there's strangers. That is like the worst thing I can't even imagine. Why would you do that?
I used to have a hard time with it.
Yeah,
The
sure.
People were like, do you want me to go with you to this event? I was like,
Yeah.
no. The whole purpose is for me to go there and make friends.
That's right.
And
yeah.
if you can't do that, then
Yeah. I think people, they start feeling they're inferior. The imposter seeks in. Do I actually fit in this room? Am I actually really providing value? All those self-limiting beliefs happen before you go into that room.
have you ever read Joseph Murphy, The Power of Subconscious Mind?
Yes.
powerful.
Yes.
And you're admitting
I understood
that.
about this much, but it was very powerful for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just happy
really
I could
intense.
read. I can count to 8.
Yeah. It was way good. Yes.
Yeah.
So you go through a portal when you go in there, and what's your intention? A lot of people don't even make an intention before you go. And like you just said, I'm here to make friends. That's my intention. You set the intention before you go in the room, and then you show up with them. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, how do I change who I am? It's not about changing. It's about making the person in your brain that is the most confident, best relationship builder in charge of that moment.
It's like turning your dial up and being able to showcase.
That's
just
right.
Put 110% on your authenticity. And if people don't like it, then those aren't your people.
That's right.
And if you're leading with intention, because you could, like you said, you could be leading this illusion. That was actually one of the things that Kyle kind of did when we first came through the first extra room. He was like, don't worry about talking to that guy, this guy, this guy.
Yeah.
Most people here, you could trust Shawn. Shawn will point you in the right direction. But anybody that's wearing real fancy stuff, it's usually on lease. You know?
Sure, yeah.
So depending on, but a lot of your
Kyle.
events, you don't get that. You don't
That's
get
right.
that, you know?
Yeah. We've curated, so that is part of the power of the event is you curate the right people in the room for sure. So when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm home. There's no imposter syndrome here. There's no inferiority. No one's treating me different.
And I think too is like a lot of people go in there and not there, just in general for networking, maybe not your events. I don't mean your events, but you can't walk into a room and be like, what can they do for me?
Sure.
It's like, what can I do and listen?
That's right.
Because that was an issue I had when I'd go in there is I go into rooms and I would try to sell instantly instead of like cultivating the soil first before you're trying to stick seeds in random places.
First seek to understand, Stephen R. Covey, and then to be understood, right? I do this little practice a lot when I'm on stages where I have the audience go find someone they didn't know before they got there and do a 2-minute interview is all. And they need to find out what their superpower is, what makes them tick in 2 minutes.
And then
I'm shocked how much they can gather in 2 minutes.
And then not to mention those neurochemicals of oxytocin, different things, and usually it's going to like positively. Then you develop connection between two people across the board.
Yeah,
everybody's tapped in.
Yeah, so I read this article years ago on Forbes magazine, and it was trying to figure out who was the most popular guy at the party, and they surveyed the whole room, and they found out there was 2 individuals, and they asked the 2 individuals why were people saying that you're the most popular, and the 2 people had the same answer, which is I just asked them about them. That's it.
You make people feel a certain way.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how you look.
Yeah,
because it's that thing. You make like a lot of people every time they meet you, they're like, Shawn is amazing. It's because you make them feel seen,
right,
or heard.
100%.
We all want that.
Yeah. So that's number one is how you show up is everything, and then number 2 on that piece is do you come away with any contacts, and do you actually do a follow up? Because riches are actually made in the follow up, and most people don't do that. I'd say the vast majority of people do not. So when I'm with you, I'm with Justin at the event, and I'm like, hey, based on what you're doing and what I'm doing, there's a great potential fit. How's your schedule next week? How's Wednesday? Never eat lunch alone book. And now on Wednesday, I actually do it right on the spot. I don't do it later. And I set a time with you, and I set an appointment, and I set an invite to you. And now I have an appointment with you on Wednesday.
100%.
Yeah. So, and you don't do that with everyone. It's only the people that have a right fit. You don't want to have 50 appointments but if there's 5 in the room, or if there's 3 in the room, or 10 in the room that are the right fit for you, don't wait till later.
And don't let that fizzle. Because we are always the master of our own thoughts. So things can get in between, and then those barriers get bigger and bigger, right?
That's right. You get home, and you're like, text Justin, okay, remember I met you at the thing? And you're like, which thing? I've got a lot of things. Yeah. What is it again? And remind me and catch me up. As opposed to, oh yeah, that's right. I have a lunch with him in his office on Wednesday next week. It's done. Don't wait. Just take action in the event. So that's number 1 is the live events are so critical, which I'm so glad you guys are coming next week.
I am too.
It's going to be an awesome
I was going to say,
time.
If you have some I need to get some extra room swag. If you have some, I'll have to wear some.
Yeah, I need to. I should actually get some extra more. I do built shirts with the X on it. They're really cool.
Yeah, I'm down. Let me know.
Yeah, they're sweet. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get some of those for next week.
Because I had a dream I was wearing one on a podcast, and I was like, well, we're gonna make it a reality.
Dude, let's do that. Let's make that happen. You send that out in the universe, it's going to come back to you.
Maybe I'll wear it for Logan's.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. Let's get that done.
Bearded podcast.
The number two is you have an incredible opportunity here with this piece of this device here.
Yeah, nothing's going to get stuck for 2 weeks in the mail on that, huh?
That's right. Nothing. You have many times I ask people, like, how many contacts do you have on your phone? And most people have hundreds. That means you've planted a seed, and if we're farmers, we've just planted a seed, and the seeds are dying. You got to actually do what? You got to bring sunshine. You got to be rain. You got to cultivate that seed and build that relationship.
I was listening to you say that, and I looked, and I seen I had 1,800 contacts, and I'm like,
yeah,
you are missing out on
1,800.
So much. 1,800.
So just take 10 a day. Identify the ones you need to connect with, and do 10 a day, 10 texts a day, over the next 30 days.
Yeah, no, I need to. And
Yeah.
just keep 100%. Like, as soon as you said that, I was like, I looked, and I'm like, some of those could be duplicates, I guess, but
Yeah.
even then, I'm like,
Yeah.
you have at least over 1,000.
Yeah,
And
so
what
now
are
you
doing?
just connected with 300 people over 30 days. And it took, how long did it take you to do 10 minutes?
Nothing.
10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. And a lot of people in prospecting or sales, they've made contacts and they don't follow up with them. Like, why would you do that?
That was
Right.
something I was talking to Bradley about. With Peter Lick, and I
Yeah.
sent him.
Oh,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah. That's
podcasts.
awesome. Yeah. I really like that guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
and I
loves
love-
you too.
yeah, dude.
He has a.
Yeah, that was a great connection. So that's actually my third, because I love referrals and intros. Referrals are manna from heaven. People just mistreat and don't do them. I literally was a little bit late here because I just got off the phone with someone who referred me this morning. I said, hey, do you happen to have time at 10:30 because I'm driving? And so I chatted with him. Incredible connection. But I got introduced to him an hour ago. Like, follow through. But so I always like it. On your intros, you notice when you sent me the Peter Lick guy, I was like, thank you so much, Justin. Appreciate you. So I try to respond soon. Some people like, oh, I'll respond the next day. Don't do that. Just respond.
Yeah.
You're not that busy. You can respond.
Yeah.
So I respond.
If you can see it, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. So I respond, and then I edify you, and then I connect with the person, and then I follow up. I do a time to set up. Hey, can you meet here? So I always follow 100%. And then here's the other piece is after I meet with that person, I like reporting back to you because I want to get on your short list of intros. So I want 100 people out there introducing me to people. Like you're doing podcasting here in production. You want 3 to 10 appointments a day that you're taking because you're getting intros. And I think it's such a critical piece to the thing. And most people kind of fumble that piece.
Oh yeah, and then like the only way you're going to get good at things is to do them. Everybody sucks at everything.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you're naturally gifted at things,
Yeah.
that probably means you're not going to put in the work.
That's right.
And I come from that.
Yeah.
I was good at things naturally, or I was better than some people.
Yeah.
So I skip steps.
Yeah.
And I go back, even with jujitsu and all, athleticism is, yes, a blessing, but it's more of a curse.
Sure.
You know, same thing. Like
Yeah.
that sounds like a first world problem, but it is, because then I'll skip steps because I was like, why do I need that step if I'm already here? But
Yeah, I
then you
just
miss
saw
things.
a video of you the other day jumping extremely high.
Yeah, my backwards is 50 plus inches.
That's
my,
crazy.
Forwards is 68, and then my vertical is at the best I've had is 37, and I will be 37 in March.
Yeah. That's impressive. But just seeing you jump up onto the boxes, I was like, you know how much discipline that took?
You know what's wild? My favorite thing is people think it's fake. Like the
Right.
backwards one, they think
it's AI.
I flipped the video around.
Yeah.
So that's why I always show myself
Right.
walking off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I can do that seamless of editing, I'm
Yeah.
in the wrong.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong field because there's no.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's
and I
way
didn't
cool.
develop that until my 30s.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I didn't know
it's
I
never
was
too
a
late
freak.
for someone to
Yeah.
get going on it.
And what got it for me is skateboarding my whole life.
Yeah, I could see
ollie
that
and
doing the
tucking my
ollieing and
legs.
stuff. Yeah, I skated in junior high and
Yeah.
grade school and high school. Yeah.
Yeah, I was good enough to be like able to do like get little small sponsorship type deals.
That's awesome.
When I was like 12, 13.
I
Worked
was
for
just
skate
a
shop,
backyard
and
hack.
That was actually my first job, was working at a skate shop because I
Yeah.
couldn't afford anything.
Sure.
So I would work. He'd always
Get
give
credit?
me a burrito.
Yeah.
And then I would, at the end of the week, he'd give me a pair of shoes or
Yeah.
he'd give me so
That's
that was my
sweet.
first one, learning how to grip better.
Yeah.
That was a scary one, is doing grip tape for pro skaters. I'm 13.
Because everything's got to be just right for a pro skater.
Yeah. And I'm like helping put these together, and they're like testing me. And that was my first, like, I'm like, oh my god.
You're handing them the board and you're like, please be good.
Yeah. I'm like, is this good? You have like one little edge. You messed up their grip tape. That's like one of those things.
One of my first purchases was a $50 board. It was called Fly Me. I still have ingrained in my mind. It was like this skateboard I bought that was a pile of crap. But I spent long time mowing lawns to buy this. So this thing was like
plastic wheels.
Oh yeah, dude, it had junk everything. But I remember I wore that thing out till it ended up breaking apart because I wore it out.
Yeah, no, that's
incredible.
Great. That gives you a like that also tells about the character. You like you run those things and they're so sentimental.
They mean so much more because you spent that much time. I didn't go to my mom and say, can you give me $50? I earned that $50. You know?
My dad would laugh at me. He was like, you give me $50.
Yeah.
He's like,
exactly.
I'm buying all this food and stuff for you. He's like, I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's like, you give me $50. Like,
easy equals no value.
Yeah. No, and then like just different levels of work ethic for different things. Because even like sometimes like with editing videos and stuff like that, you can catch yourself saying like, "Oh, I'm not a video editor." Yeah. It's like it's because you're choosing not to be.
That's right.
You know,
you can go do it.
Yeah, figure it out. We're all intelligent in our own ways.
It's where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? So you out and go do something. Like you've done 50 podcasts now. It's like you're spending a percentage of your life thinking about what's the next show, and you're actually doing really well in this show and your other shows you're putting out. I mean, you're one of the top podcasts,
which is wild.
That's so cool, man.
Because the views don't it's so easy to look at Theo Von or Joe Rogan or something.
Yeah, sure, megastars. They put tons of money behind the marketing. Yeah.
So like the views get out there, and like it's like but it was fun because there's a guy named Josh Sanchez. I think you might have met him a couple times.
Yes.
So he was telling me, he was like, wait, you're top 20% on video? Because he has a good podcast platform, great area, like downtown Salt Lake, amazing studio.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not top 20% for video podcasts. And I showed him the screenshot and put him in there. He's like, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, for some reason, you're up there. And I'm like, cool.
That's awesome.
You know?
Well, you've done 50, and I'm sure you spend just a percentage. Your focus is there. So all of a sudden you get flow. And the flow happens in the middle of the night. Sometimes you wake up, it's like, oh, I need to do this. Or I'll do that.
Here's something. Do you ever do it? Because people are like, oh, like money. Are you making money from it? And I was like, I didn't want to do it about the money at first.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you do that you know you could make money, but you do it for the art? Like, would you say? I guess maybe the networking, things like that. Because I didn't want to maybe, and I've had people that are, 6-7 figure earners tell me, like, you just have a bad relationship. Like, you have this, you've seen the bad people make money. And so that could be part of it for me. But it was like, I was like, I just don't want to make it that yet. I want to get in X amount of episodes. And then once I get there, I'll do the ads and things like that.
Yeah. What I tell people a lot of times, because they're like, podcasts, I don't know if I want to do a podcast. And people in their mind, they think with podcasting that you do a show, that show goes out and sees lots of views. And generally that doesn't happen. It does in your case. You're crushing it. But for the average like entrepreneur that's trying to put out content, they don't see a ton of views. So you'll get some recognition, you'll get some branding out of that piece. But what I tell them is you get to spend an hour. This show's an hour. You get to spend an hour with a potential prospect or a potential partner in your business. And you'll do more just on that. So you'll do more on that one thing. So if you have 10 podcasts, you'll end up doing a partner deal or some deal with 7 out of 10 of the people that you have on your show, that you end up doing some kind of business together. It's it is the best. You contrast this with doing just a Zoom with someone or a phone call with someone. No, this is a full hour you get. There's nothing distracting us. There's no tech, nothing.
And I like mine too to be a little, I mean, apparently I have punctual questions, like they're there, but I don't have a script next to me either.
Right.
And I think that helps too. It like drops the walls for some people and it feels more comfortable. It feels like a conversation you have with friends. Yeah. Which I think all levels of podcast. If you are like I just didn't want to be like a Channel 3 News, where you're like, hello, this is
very
Justin.
Structured. Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
That's right. Yeah, there's no structure, which I love, but you've also at the same time you've done the homework. You kind of the guest and what they're about, which opens up the conversation better.
I think so too, because then we don't lose eye contact. There's that, and that's what I want. Because I like Joe, I like Theo, I like some of these people that they put their own autism into it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
It's the spectrum.
You never know where it's
podcast.
going to go.
Yeah, and I know I can be pretty neurodivergent. I'll bounce
Yeah.
around, but I'll
Yeah.
come back around and then
Yeah.
we'll keep going.
Yeah.
I love that. And it is free content,
Yeah, that's
right?
right.
Like if you have
Yeah.
endless reels.
Yeah, hey, you're going to go drive an
15-second
hour?
reels.
Why don't you listen to an incredible podcast and pick up some information and education on it?
Pieces of it,
Yeah,
even,
sure.
And then we have these, like Chip and everybody else that comes on. Everybody has great stories. I've
Yeah.
been blessed with a lot of good friends like you have too.
Yeah, love
like
it.
I like every morning I wake up and just say thank you for that alone. It's like, and then being able to connect certain people. Not everybody has that skill.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, Shawn
Sure.
and this person and
Yes.
this, and then as you network, you get better at that too. I
Yeah.
think connecting the dots, or
100%.
like that Always Sunny meme where he's like, oh, there's red lines, and he's like.
Yeah, exactly right. I love that show too.
So what got you started on wanting to do X Room? Like maybe did you have something before X Room? Like what were your first networking events that you started going to and the ones you started throwing
So
yourself?
I went to every networking thing you can think of. And there were certain things I loved and certain things I could not stand. And so I just made a list of all the things I loved. And I just said, I'm going to go carve this out. So a lot of people that are watching, like they have a seat at the table and it's someone else's table generally. And at some point you're like, no, I actually want to create my own table. I'm going to create my own thing. And that's kind of where I hit the point, because I was like, I just have certain things I love. And I want to put all those things I love into one thing. And I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but that was like 3.5, but it's been about 4 years. So now I've done 14. This is 14 next week. And it's grown from like 20 people in the room to next week, you see it's about 300 people in the room.
And 300 amazing people.
Really
like
great people.
Everybody are great.
Yes.
Like it's a group of individuals that maybe, there are still going to be some timid people and things in any group, or they're off days or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody is just smiles, or they actually make eye contact. They want to talk to you. They give you at least 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes,
Yeah.
And I love that about like the people that you help cultivate the relationships and bring.
I'm always amazed that there's a story in World War II where soldiers, they were so remote that they couldn't get supply lines. And so they'd actually have to go into villages and try to ask the village. They'd beg for food there on the Allies. And one commander, the story goes, the one commander said, hey, we can't keep asking these, like we're begging for food, and they hide all their stuff and they won't open the door. So he's like, we're going to make rock soup. And they're like, rock soup? What is that? And so they went in the middle of town, a town square. He builds a fire. He puts a big pot on and he puts rocks in with water and he starts stirring it. And he created his own table. And what happened is people started coming out from the village. They're like, hey, what are you doing? You're bringing people together. What's up? And he's like, well, I'm making the most incredible soup on the planet. And the first person said, what if I added carrots? Another person said, hey, what if I added potatoes? What if the butcher came over? What if I added meat and we can all have this together? And they created this soup, and that's the concept. And that's how this thing works. You create your own thing. I've been amazed how many people come to the table. I don't make money on the X Room, but I've had many people come and say, hey, why don't you do it at my venue? And I won't charge you a dime. Very nice space. Would be charging someone else thousands of dollars. I get it for free. Another person says, hey, why don't I buy the lunch? Because you're bringing great people together. Why don't I've never paid for the lunch other than the first ones. And so now it's thousands of dollars that they shell out and they pay for lunch. It's like crazy. Like I've gotten so much great things happening because you create your own. So someone watching this like, yeah, I want to create my own thing. Well, there's certain guidelines. So like one, get the right people that you want in the room, and you can't break that. If you're going to be doing an author event, then don't put HR managers in with the authors. You have to stick to your curated space. You also need to understand, so it's the who. Start with the who. What do they want? What does that person want? What don't they want? We only do ours every quarter because I try to get busy people like you to come. 100%. And if you miss it, you don't see it for months.
No, and I kick myself in the butt every time.
Yeah.
Like I've missed 2 and I'm like,
yeah,
ugh.
That's all right. If we've done 14, you've missed 2.
Yeah.
So you just stick to that system and you can't change, because most people will start something and then it just fizzles out. But I've been doing it now for 4 years and it's gone from 20 to 300 people. and it's gotten better and better every time. And more people bring resources to the table. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine like your plethora of like you probably have a cell phone just for networks.
Yeah,
an extra one
awesome.
just for the connects, so you
Yes.
could transfer them over.
Yes, I love it. I love it more than
Your
anything.
X room connects. It's
Yes.
just you have to go back to that.
I got a lot. Yeah.
And so what about this new one you have
Yeah.
going on? You said it was called barbecues.
Oh yes. Yeah. So in addition to that, I'm always like, hey, how do we do
Something else.
And I feel very strongly that men need space and men need men.
Yeah. What was the other one? Hot dogs and handguns.
Yeah. Yes. Guns and buns.
Oh, guns and buns. I knew it sounded like that.
Yeah. So I have this friend. He's a chaplain, and he donates his time. He's a successful entrepreneur, but he donates his time at night to drive around with police officers. And the way he described it to me, this might be personal information, but the way he described it to me is police officers, when someone in the family loses a family member, the police officers actually don't like to be the ones knocking on the door, although they have to a lot, because it triggers the family. So every time they see a police officer after that, it triggers them. And my buddy, he's a chaplain, so he's the one that goes and knocks on that door. And
That's a rough job.
rough. So years ago, he came into my office and he was looking down. I said, hey, what's going on? He said, this week he had to tell 3 families that they lost their fathers and their husbands, right? And I was like, I had this strong impression at that moment that I'm not okay with that. None of us are okay with some father feeling like that's the only option. And he doesn't get help, and it's like you see it on Joe Rogan all the time. Men live a life of quiet desperation, and I felt God a lot of times will, in your life, I don't listen well, but there's certain times where you feel like he shakes you, and maybe you can count him on 2 hands or a hand, where it's like this is like something I have to do, and in that moment I felt like I have to. I don't have skills to help men like as a therapist or something, but I could definitely get men together and give them a safe space that they can actually talk to each other. And so I started that years ago. So I'm on the board of Here Brotherhood and other boards of men boards. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to create another space, which is called Cars, Barbecue, and Jesus. And it's a safe place for men to just get together and talk about Jesus, because like all of our faith needs help. Our faith is waning. I wish the faith graph was up and to the right, but it's more like a roller coaster for me, right? And I need it too. And so I like getting guys together and talking about guys talking about feelings. How's that? That's not okay. The provider needs to be the one in charge, but guys have feelings and they should be willing to talk about them, talk about faith, talk about Christ, Jesus in their life. So that event's coming up in 3 weeks.
Oh,
be honored to have you both come.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Do you who do you have for barbecuing? Is it going to be at a venue or
I actually have people sponsoring and bringing in the barbecue, so it's free for men. And Kyle Kuasi, who I mentioned earlier, he's speaking while we eat barbecue. Cool. And then we're doing little breakout rooms. We're going to talk about 5 scriptures and what it means. Like one is like let your light so shine, and how has our light as men become dim? What are things that are keeping us from shining? Is one of the topics. So it's just literally small little group meetings.
And it's crazy too when people realize they're in control of their flame.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
right.
Could be,
you have 100%. It's a choice.
I've been building. So I had a ketamine issue a couple years ago. It's been. I think the last time I even did any like nasal spray, whatever, was like going on 5-6 months ago, which is fairly recent, but it wasn't like it was like every day at that point. But anyways, one of the reasons is because I felt I had a dim light. Like I felt like my relationship was failing.
Yeah.
I had 3 friends that passed away all within 2 months of each other.
Great example.
Things didn't work out. I wasn't able to sell the way I wanted to with Kyle. And I felt like a bad friend and a bad, so like everything was going, it was all at one time.
Yeah.
And, my mom was sick and like, so everything just felt like it was collapsing.
Yeah.
And there's 2 things you could do. You could step up, or for me, I had a prescription, monthly prescription, and I leaned into that. So luckily that saved me, gave me extra dopamine, things like that, but it overstretched, turned into a crutch. So there's 2 things there. There was, because for me, I felt like it wasn't that I wanted to show the world take myself. It was
Yeah.
I felt like a burden at that point. you
Sure.
know? And
That's
it's a
what
real
happens.
thing. And I've never felt
Yeah,
on that
that's
level
what
before.
happens. It's really sad.
And you don't know, and other people don't know.
That's
no
right.
one knew, and
Yep.
I didn't want to call people and bug them.
Yeah.
And people are like, dude,
Right.
we'd much rather take a call at 1 a.m. than
That's right.
than have to get the Facebook post that you're
That's
not
right.
around.
That's
and
right.
That's where anyways, the reason I say all that is because it's coming back around in my circle, and I've been developing nutritional options, like supplemental things too, that'll help people mitigate something a lot of people don't talk about. Like they can help with the internal reps.
Yes.
But if their brain isn't producing, they could have had a bad concussion. They could have there are supplements like glutathione and different
Smart.
protocols
Yeah,
that
that's great.
can implement. So like that's something
Yeah.
I want to bring to the table too.
It's great.
There's one for rebounding for mucosal lining in the gut from alcohol. There's one
Yeah.
that from pharmaceuticals, and all of it's. Of course, supplements can be considered synthetic, but it gives your body the ability to start producing again.
Yeah.
And from this 2 years on of back and forth, it gave me a blessing to see that side of things, because I had a
100%.
really great discipline.
Yeah.
I still do comparatively to whatever, but
Yeah.
compared to what I was doing, my dopamine was I wasn't folding my clothes.
Yeah.
Things would stay in the laundry, and
Yeah.
that wasn't like me. I wasn't reading anymore.
Your light was dim for sure.
Yeah. But the reason I say all that is because we're such dynamic beings that it's never one thing.
Yeah.
You could fix that thing, but then you're like, well, I fixed the thing. What's going on? And they
Right.
don't realize that maybe they've been taking Adderall for 6 years and it's forced production of dopamine. And now that
Yeah.
they weaned themselves off of it, or
Yeah.
they whatever, X, Y, or Z. But then there's other ways too to fix gut health, to make
Yeah.
sure your neurons are firing properly in your brain and your gut.
Yeah.
So those are all opportunities too. The only reason
Love
I
it.
bring
I
that
think
up
that's
is
really great.
so like we could
Yeah.
and
Let's do that.
Yeah, multiple men's
Yeah.
groups. There's
Yeah.
been that reach out, and I just want everybody to have it. Like
if
I
you
want-
feel bad on the inside, it affects the outside,
and,
right?
and if you're doing
Yeah.
everything right on the outside,
Yeah.
but it's not a lack of trying a lot of the times, it's a lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
Without your failure, without you dropping your ego, and this is even about ego for that, but like
Yeah.
you would have never learned the thing
That's
from
right.
the people to
Yeah.
get you to that next level.
Yeah, I'd never want to go through it again, but I wouldn't. It was such a valuable experience. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It helped cultivate you.
That's
like,
right.
unfortunately, you had your fingertips to to mold this thing out of marble.
Yes.
Bloody nails.
Yes. 100%.
It just started to chip, so you just
Yeah.
kept going.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the reason it wasn't.
Well, great.
it's-
You got to come to my Cars Barbecue and Jesus.
Yeah, no, I'm in. I'm
Yeah,
in.
it's awesome.
But going from there and from that, what other events and stuff do you have going on?
Well, so the more I've understood relationships, the more I understand family is so important. Your children are so important. I'm a girl daddy.
You made me cry in my shower, by the way.
Dude,
I was
I'm
listening.
a huge believer in that. I always cry when I think about my daughters. I mean, I could talk business all I want, but man, when it comes to my daughters, there's such a soft spot.
It was the story about you and your daughter when she was walking over the
Yes. Yes.
fire at Tony Robbins.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's very much ingrained. So I'll tell you the 30-second story is, I love Tony Robbins. I think he's one of the greatest literally in history. And I think he's so incredible at identifying your limiting beliefs, overcoming them. So if you think about high school experience, how many limiting beliefs do high schoolers have?
All of them.
I mean, you feel inferior all the time. I was my nickname was Skinnigan.
Oh, no.
Because I was so skinny.
Yeah.
And the guys that were big, like I was always looked up to them, and I was like, I wanted to be like them, but I was so skinny. And so you have all these inferior complex. So you tell yourself, I'm not smart, I'm not pretty, I'm not handsome, and I'm not a good at sports. I'm not. You just limit yourself. Mm-hmm. So when I first went and had that epiphany, I was like, man, I would love my daughters to go through this. So I brought our daughters, and my second daughter, we went to it, and part of his thing is you walk through fire, right? And I was with my daughter. I was like, sweetie, we're not going to walk through fire. Don't worry about it. Because she was like, that's scary, Dad. I don't know if I can. I probably can't do that. But anyways, I saw her blossom over the 3 days. It was like incredible because she was identifying all those things. She's a beautiful daughter. And she was telling herself like she actually wasn't pretty. She didn't have a good figure. She told herself so many just limiting false beliefs. And it wasn't true. None of it was true. But she told herself that. And she was identifying that. And so it was this powerful moment where Tony's basically, I said, hey, we're going to go to dinner early because tonight's the night. They're going to walk through fire, but we're going to dinner early and we don't have to worry about it. But Tony's like, okay, make a list of all your limiting beliefs that are holding you back. Go find a stranger. And then you go basically list it all and you tell the stranger all your stuff. You're unpacking all your stuff, all the hard things you've been telling yourself lies years for. And then that stranger tells you all the stuff. And you feel this love for this person you just barely met, the Son of God. It's like you're talking to. And then Tony, so my daughter did this with a stranger. And then Tony has you turn to that stranger and say, I want to walk through fire for you. And then that person turns and says, I want to walk through for you. So you actually don't walk through for yourself. You walk through for someone else. Mm-hmm. And now I just committed to this person who has really hard things. Yeah. And we bonded. I'm not going to leave this person hanging and say, I'm busting out. I'm going to go get some pizza.
I know you mentioned abandonment issues, but I have to leave.
I have to leave you in this moment. So my daughter felt the same way. And so the next thing you know, I'm arm in arm with this guy walking through to this spot. And I walked through the fire. He has you do certain psychology things. You look up in the sky and you tell you cool moss in your mind. And you overcome that fear in that moment. And my daughter did that. And I saw her walk across. And then she gets through and she just does this giddy dance. You know what I mean? It's just like she's celebrating and she's shaking all over that she did something hard. And
that's really hard, dude.
It's so hard to do.
Literal fire.
Yeah. And here's my little girl that's overcome these limiting beliefs and she's walked through the fire. Yeah. And it was like this moment, with your kids, you have these certain things. There are certain times it's engraven. And literally, it's in your brain.
Was that
forever.
like broke down your fourth wall type deal?
Yeah. I just sat there in awe at this little girl.
And then you realize you're like, oh, she's like a human and she can do things.
And she can do hard things. She told herself, I actually am a powerful person, right? All that amazing stuff.
And that's a wild, that's like skydiving level, like people don't do that.
Yeah. She was 16 years old going through that. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah. And then you were telling me too telling the podcast. So you're going to be telling me. Yeah. That's how you know you're a great speaker is you're speaking to my soul no matter what.
Yes.
It's through the podcast.
I love the daddy-daughter stuff, man.
Yeah, that she can, you bring her to, like, one of the ways that you became a more impactful or a better father too is like you have all these networking events, right?
Yes.
So you're bringing your kids
as much as I can.
As much as you can. And then she's on, or whatever she's doing, iPad, homework, or something, and you don't know if she's listening, right? But then she ends up picking up things throughout the whole, and having questions for you or whoever. And
I went to an event once when my daughter, she was like 14 at the time, maybe 15. She brought an iPad and she's sitting at the back table. And my speaker, the main guy who's running the event, his name is Jeff Crane. And he's up on stage and he's like, hey, Shawn, why don't you come up here? So I speak a lot. So I got up on stage and he's like, hey, Shawn, I want you to bring your daughter up here. And my daughter's like, the crowd was full. It was like a couple hundred people. It was like, so my daughter, and it was an AI event of all things, So my daughter's like in shock. She like puts the iPad down. She's like, yoink. So I was like, yeah, come on up here, sweetie. And he hands her the mic and he's like, talk about your dad. And it was just like, she just had so much confidence standing up, and that little 14-year-old girl standing on stage talking about her relationship. It was another one of those moments like, she's sitting there on an iPad. A lot of times kids will do that, but they're gathering so much more than you understand and know. It's shocking how much she understood, like in some of those times and moments, but hearing her talk about our relationship and how I was able to build her up as a dad in her confidence, it was also a big impact for me.
That's huge. And it's hard too, sometimes when you're with them every day, it's hard to make that connection, right? And you don't sometimes you probably, like all of us, especially men, we remember the things that we do wrong or whatever. Like we don't see those little steps.
There's guilt involved in being a dad sometimes.
And then you're thinking it's the throwing the ball in the park or this and taking them to dinner, but it's like these small things that they remember that's probably completely different than your moments, right?
Just sometimes being present, being with them.
Yeah.
Simple.
You could put to say, okay, what are the 10 things that you think you did best for your daughter? And what are the 10 things that she writes down? Those are probably going to be different. Maybe some of them are correlating, but
there's
it's probably going to be
different
different
than what you think.
Yeah.
You think it's this grand thing where you have to take them to Disneyland or something, but a lot of times it's like, No, I remember my dad came to my play, right? And I looked
Dad-
out and I was playing the guitar like my daughter does. I looked out and my dad's like, giving her a thumbs up.
Like,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
like the people in there.
Those little
That's my
things like
daughter.
that are sometimes the biggest impact, right?
And that's, yeah, those, so I don't have kids, but those are the things I look for. It's like,
Yeah.
so for me, I try to learn how to be the version of a man that I needed, rather the
Yes.
dad that I needed.
Yeah.
And that's why I strive so hard to get down the road. Now, like I'm sure every human has faults, and
Yes.
we're not perfect.
Yep.
And I also see my parents as humans.
Yeah.
And that's like the 9 to 5 being all day, or 7 to 4, whatever.
That's right.
9 to 5 basically.
Yeah.
They're never around.
That's
and
right.
That's something. I had a dad, but he
Yeah.
was busy at working.
Yeah.
Somebody had to buy food and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And
Right.
so I just want to be able to be more present. I'll have
That's
kids.
right.
I'm 30. I'll be 37 in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But my goal is before 40. My mom had me at 41,
awesome.
so we have time.
Fantastic.
And I'm healthier
You'll have
than
a
my
great
mom.
perspective.
And
sure.
so I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and to be the biggest thing is I'm trying to develop more patience.
Yeah.
Because if I can have more patience and I
Yeah.
treat them as humans,
That's
and
right.
they're developing their own brain, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to teach them the things that I didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
to as for my ego perspective.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like you do a really great job of like cultivating humans,
Mm-hmm.
and letting them become their version of, but also giving them the opportunity to maybe run their own little businesses. And
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I learned, so I was pretty much, I have an older sister, but I was raised with brothers. So before I had a baby, I was only 24 when I had my first child. So I was way young, and I was way inexperienced, and I was terrified, really. I mean, you have to be the provider. There's all these things you have to do. And so when my wife got pregnant, I was like really scared, because I was like, I don't even know how to do this. And then we went for the ultrasound. I saw it was a girl, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to have a football player or a golfer. I know how to do that stuff, but I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to raising a daughter. And I met with my mentor. His name is Brian Tracy. He was a sales trainer. He's been around forever. And he said, hey, you need to read these 10 books. So he didn't have the answer for me. He's like, you have 10 books you got to read. So I read over months and months and months while my baby was in the belly. So I was like, okay. What I figured out during that time is that the father actually does have a big impact on the daughters and the sons as well. But the daughters, you can actually build the daughter's confidence because of the approval from the father. And I found that to be 100% true. So on a daily basis, I would try to give them very specific things, every daughter, things that I noticed about them, physically, spiritually, mentally. So my daughter loves art. So I would come in and say, oh my gosh, Ella, your art is amazing. I love the shading here. I love the expression on the face. I try to come up with very specific things. Her beautiful smile, I'd give her compliments on her beautiful, she can literally light up the room. Mm-hmm. She has a beautiful smile. And I tell her all those physical things and spiritual and mental things. And what that does is it puts a little piece of armor on every time a father builds that confidence in the daughter. And then ultimately, the confidence of the daughter comes from the father.
Right. It's like that kind of, I guess it could be a metaphor, or the statement of make sure that your daughter's used to those compliments from you.
That's right.
And then they already have, and they don't need that external validation.
Yeah, there's an approval from their father that they're craving. And some fathers, they think, okay, I have this delicate person. I'm going to make them tough by tearing them down and telling them all the bad things on a daily basis. And then they never get approval. They never feel like, oh, my dad's really proud of me, right? And it's not saying that you don't have discipline, you don't have rules, and you don't have structure. That's great. But man, you have got to build them up. You build them up, they will have so much confidence. And then when they do meet someone in the future that has confidence and builds them up as well, they're used to that. That's how they live. I know who I am. I know my worth, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%. And then in the process, you're able to help them cultivate what they want. They become the people. So one of my favorite books, I've read it multiple times, is The New Earth, New Earth from Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about, it's the third book technically. People think there's a second, but there's one in between the two called The Stillness. But and what blew my mind, I was in my 20s when I first read that. And it's like, don't raise your kids through your ego. And I'm like, ugh, what? And then it made sense. I'm like, oh man, like, as if nowadays, I'm not saying kids should strive to be professional video game players, but they're $1 million in there. And if that's what they want to, and that's something, even with my nephews, is like, I don't play video games anymore, but I'll ask my friends like some topics about video games. So then I have something to talk about my nephew with. Yeah. I'm like, oh, hey, how's that going? Oh, cool. Yeah. Did you get the new ray gun thing? And he's like, oh yeah, just kidding. And then, because before I would just try to ask questions, and it wasn't common for, like you said, you're not going to have HR guys come to an author. And so like, if I'm HR and he's an author, he doesn't want to talk about HR stuff. Yeah. Fitness and all these other things. Like,
you have a choice in that case. The father could come in and just tear him down for playing the video games. Or you can actually build them up in their skill at playing. I mean, there's a lot of hand-eye coordination. There is people who actually make a career of it. Yeah, you can also become a developer and make video games. I mean, there's
his dad potential. Plays with him.
Yeah, like that's cool.
Play. Yeah, they
that's
play.
Cool.
They have
lean into
rooms.
Their skills.
But that was fun because he started like wanting to mow lawns and stuff to get this PlayStation. I knew he was going to get one because his parents were going to get him one anyways. But I'm like, he was like, man, maybe I want to do YouTube videos or something. I was like, then I'll send him a camera and or like an old computer, and then he can start doing that. And if he doesn't like it, then he has a computer, and it's like, what do you like right now? And then he was like, man, maybe I could do car wash. I was like, oh, you can mow lawns. He was like, yeah. He was like, no, I like cars though. Right. Maybe I could wash cars. I was like, yeah. You know, and then you could go and ask your neighbors and bring a bucket or whatever around, and then maybe what you could do is create a business plan and show it to me, and then maybe I could be your first investor. Yeah, is what I was trying to teach him.
Love it.
It's brilliant. Like, how much you need. Yeah. Like, look at all the numbers of all the things, come up with that, see how much money you have, and then maybe we could 3x it next week. Yeah. You get 1 or 3 more clients. So like I was trying to teach him little. That's
really great.
But those are things people don't learn in school.
No, they don't. And another thing I learned is that parents' priorities are different than teenager priorities. Parents want them to be responsible, future thinking about their future, all of those responsibilities of like, why can't they just see that their future is so important because they got to go to school and they get education, all this stuff. So, but their frontal lobe's not even developed at a young age. In a teenage mind of a boy, they're thinking about food, fun, and freedom, right? They're thinking about freedom with friends. And in this case, he's a video game. He loves, that's fun to him. He can create a business out of it and have fun. And so the other thing I learned is the food, freedom, and friends, that is the same priority as grandparents. So if you ever see kids that have a great relationship with their grandparents, they're actually the same priorities, because grandparents are food, fun, and freedom. They're to that point. So they're like, I really resonate with my grandpa or my grandmas because they're actually on the same page.
Well, and then you see too, is like, as people get older, usually they revert back to the playful.
That's right.
Sometimes.
Same thing.
One of my favorite things ever when I was like growing up, like once I moved out here, I was very blue collar, build houses, things like that. Once the snow hit, I realized I'm not a Utah manly man. Yeah, right. And I made it to February, and I was like, nope, this isn't for me. So I became a like server at restaurants, things like that. One of my favorite things is an old person or a kid, they lock in eyes, not know each other.
That's right.
Different tables. Doesn't
same
matter.
wavelength.
Just do. The beginning and the ending. Yes. Of like the life. Right. That is so powerful. Like gives me goosebumps. Seeing that was one of my favorite things. 100%. You could just see both of them like, oh, and the kid. There's two things. If dogs and kids don't like you got something going. Yeah, that's when who cares about adults?
True. It's 100%. Right? But the parents are completely out of whack because they're not even the same priorities. But so the parents can use that and understand, hey, this kid really wants friends and freedom. So how do we incorporate this, the responsibility, the education with fun and friends with their freedom, right? So that's all fascinating stuff.
Dude,
I'm still learning all the time.
Yeah, and forever the student.
Yes.
Be forever the student.
Amen to that.
And then in closing, usually what I do is I'll have the guest give three points of advice. You could either, whatever comes to mind, top 3 things that get you through life, or just things that you think it's necessary for our guest to hear.
Yep. So start that stops you. Go out and get something started. If wherever you are, it doesn't matter what the video game. I'd have them pull out a calendar, set a time, set a date, and go execute. Right. Number 2, business relationships are so critical. Do a better job building relationships, and you'll scale whatever you're doing. You're 1 or 2 intros away from getting anything you want in business, anything. And number 3, family relationships with your kids is a glass ball in life, like Zig Ziglar talks about, that you can't drop, right? Those are my 3 things.
Mm-hmm. And then just on closing on with that one, that's something I see is like, I think some entrepreneurs are trying to build things for their family, but they spend so much time away from their family. You got to make sure that you have awareness to be the band.
Bring your family with you if you can.
Yeah.
Bring your daughter to your meetings. Do all that stuff. It's great for your children to see, man, my dad's up there on stage speaking to speaker. My dad knows a lot of people. My dad's doing this, all that stuff it stays with them. It captures an image in their mind that they stay with.
The one thing you can't invest in is time lost, right?
Yes. Amen to that.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. The X Room event's going to be next Thursday. Well, maybe we could put them up there. Maybe we could add the X Room as a sponsor on here so I could show you when the next one will be. That could be awesome. And then one more time, what was the next event that you're going to have going on?
It's going to be Cars, Barbecue, and Jesus.
Cars,
All
Barbecue,
America
and
right
Jesus.
there.
Yeah. When's that event going to be?
It's coming up in March.
Coming up in March.
Yes.
March is going to be a packed month.
Yes.
And then just remember to get out of our minds and into our hearts. This is just in our minds. Thanks for listening.